3 days of inspiration, content, and connections with fellow executive women at leading retailers and brands. You can't miss the 2021 Women in Retail Leadership Summit. Connect with and learn from inspirational women leaders at this exclusive boutique event from October 11th to the 13th. The safety of our attendees is our number one priority. Go to womeninretailsummit.com for our full event safety plan and to register to attend. We can't wait to see you there.
Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, Editor-in-Chief of Total Retail, and I am joined on today's episode by Joe Malmuth, who is the Vice President of Franchise Development for Batteries Plus. And Joe and I are going to be speaking today about the growth of Batteries Plus business, and particularly in the physical retail space. So thanks for joining me today, Joe.
No, I'm glad to be here, Joe. And hopefully the two Joes won't get too confusing as we go through the conversation here.
Exactly. So just to get us started, I think probably most of our audience is familiar with Batteries Plus. For those that may not be, would you just kind of give us a brief overview of the company?
No problem at all. So we're actually in our 33rd year of doing this with this brand. We started way back in the late 80s in Green Bay, Wisconsin, with one location. And at the time, it was just a specialty battery store. So car batteries and hearing aid batteries and all kinds of stuff. And over the years, as we developed other channels and then became a franchise offering and so forth, we're now sitting at over 700 locations within the U.S. and also added other channels as well for our customers, being all forms of device repair to key fob programming and cutting, specialty lighting, as well as smart home products.
Great. And just so I think it would probably be helpful for the audience too, just a little bit on your personal background, Joe, how long you've been with Batteries Plus, your role with the company, a little bit about your career.
Sure. So I've been with Batteries Plus since May 11th of 2020. So you can imagine the look on my wife's face when I told her right in the middle of when the COVID pandemic was blowing up, hey, hon, I'm going to be changing companies. And so she looked at me like I had three heads, but I came on board with Batteries Plus and am the Vice President of Franchise Development and Franchise Relations. My responsibilities are to help grow the brand the right way and also make sure that the dynamic there among the community of franchisees is strong in terms of the tools and access to resources and so forth that they have from the franchisor. This is the 26th brand that I've been in charge of in this capacity. I've worked with brands that are just getting ready to open their first location to brands that are in 80 countries with a 1,600 location footprint, just about everything in between. So I've been doing this better part of 20 years. At one point, I had 15 brands all at the same time under an umbrella. So know my way around a franchise and certainly proud to be part of a blue chip opportunity like Batteries Plus.
Just when you were talking about your role, Joe, something that popped into my head, and it just the challenge over the last year in your role, I would imagine it probably involves going out and seeing a lot of your franchisees and traveling out to different store locations. Have you been able to do that? How have you been kind of able to maintain those relationships during a time when travel has been so restricted and stores may not have been open to full capacities? And what's that been like?
Well, let's start with the back half of that question there. So in terms of stores not being open to full capacity, we haven't had that problem. By nature of what we do, we first and foremost were one of the early brands that was able to wave the flag that, hey, we're essential. Because we are providing car batteries to firefighters and police officers and doctors and nurses and so forth that need to get to work every day, and other additional services like providing backup power to devices that are inside of hospitals and nursing homes and this kind of stuff. So we never really had the problem that some other industries had in terms of some type of a state level or federal level government mandate of shutdowns. We remained open the entire time, which was a great thing for our owners. And even when some of our competitors weren't able to do that, we were able to really kind of angle and pick up some more market share in those capacities. In terms of proximity, the stores that I'm close to is very easy to get in and connect with those owners. But some of those locations that are maybe a little bit further away, I'm based out of South Florida. The company's headquartered in Wisconsin. We're in all 50 states, essentially. Zoom has been very kind to us in that capacity. So There's been some opportunities as well where November of last year in Tampa, Florida, we hosted a support conference for some of our owners just this week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of this week, we hosted another one at our headquarters office in Wisconsin. So we've had the ability to get out there, get in front of our owners, bring our owners in a group to us. COVID compliance officers were on site to make sure everybody was following appropriate protocols for where we were and what we were doing at the time. So we took those extra measures to make sure everybody felt safe and comfortable, and made sure we maintained those relationships as best we could under the circumstances.
Yeah, so it's great that you're sort of, getting that going again, and that's encouraging to hear. And the fact that your stores were open has really obviously been an advantage. And so that leads into my second question, in terms of the growth of the business. And Batteries Plus has really sustained some momentum here. It recently announced record-breaking Q2 results, and in fact, this year, 2021, it's tracking to be the company's most profitable year ever in its 35-year history. So my question for you, Joe, is kind of what do you attribute this success?
It's one word, and that word is stability. We have the very good fortune of being able to show over 33 years of business a very, very stable track record. Specifically, what I mean by that is when the world is on fire, Batteries Plus is doing okay. 2020 was comp positive over 2019. 2021 is comp positive so far year to date over 2020 and 2019. And if you're an investor or a business owner or an entrepreneur, especially over the last year, that's become more important than ever. You want to be in a business that is going to always finish the race and finish the race strong. It may not be the flashiest or the trendiest thing in the world out there, but it's important to have stability. And if you talk to if we break that down and use the example of advice that you get from your financial advisor, you always have to have a section of your portfolio that's the hedge against all of the volatility out there in the market. And that gives you the security to be able to take risks in other places. And so starting to really tell that narrative and that history of our brand in a new way has really started to attract folks to Batteries Plus. And in that sense, we've had an advantage last year over a lot of other franchise brands. And in that same sense, we've been able to attract a lot of multi-unit developers into the brand because of the stability factor. If you have a very predictable model, then you can really do a lot of things with that. And that's the story we've been telling for the last 18 months or so since I've been on board. And we've signed 96 new stores in that time frame. And as I'm sitting here right now, you're right. This is going to be an unbelievably successful year for us in terms of the franchise growth that we've seen, both in store performance, existing locations are continuing to see an increase in all trackable metrics that we use to evaluate success, but also in folks that are coming to join the brand. And on top of that, I think the most telling indicator is the existing owners in the system jumping on board to develop more locations. And I think that's the best validation that I can point to is that when you've got a group of existing owners that are, hey, when the world has never been on fire like this before, I'm doubling down, tripling down, in some cases, 9, 10, 11 stores. That's a big win.
Yeah, no, and to your point, that's kind of given you an advantage, and that growth that stability that you've been able to create, not only with your franchise develop, your partners, but also that customer experience too. And I think we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So let's get into the kind of the growth of the physical footprint, specifically through a franchise model, as you've outlined, and how that's been critical to the company's overall success. And just taking that a step further, you've mentioned some of the opportunities that are going forward. You've signed, I believe, close to 100 deals. So let's talk a little bit about how brick and mortar factors into Battery Plus's future plans as well.
So the brick and mortar piece of this, as we all know, in retail, there are some things out there in the world that make people nervous, right? And the biggest one being Amazon. The advantage that we have within this space is some giant percentage of what we sell and the services that we provide aren't shippable by Amazon. You can't ship a sealed lead acid battery. And so that's because of environmental rules. And, you can't put a flooded lead acid battery on the back of a UPS truck. UPS won't do it. And the rules and regulations around that. So we sort of have these built-in moats around our business that protect us. And so you add to that, there's a major service component to what we do. It's almost like we're a service-based business that just so happens to have retail products for sale. In that sense where, you can come in and buy a car battery, but we're also going to put it in for you. Or, in my case with some little ones at home, and Joe, we were talking before we started rolling here, you're in the same boat there. When the Power Wheel battery dies, I've got to make a 3-year-old happy real quick or my afternoon is done. And being able to bring that into the store and have our folks put the battery in for you so that you can get it home and make that kid happy. Those things are important, especially when we're all stuck at home together, right? So the retail component of this isn't going away. It's an advantage. And we continue to do things like streamline the customer experience in those stores. We had a program that's running right now called Project Volt, where we're helping our owners refresh their locations and maybe change some of the layout a little bit to create a better experience as those customers come through the door. We've got close to 600 locations either done or almost done out of the little over 700 stores that we have open and operating now. And that's, we're talking not even 12 months in that program yet. So that's always going to be part of what we do. But it's a matter of, can we do it in 1,300 square feet or do we need 2,500 square feet? Well, we've shown by making sure that we're taking these very individualized and data-driven approaches to how our customers behave. We can do it 1,300 square feet. And for those business owners and investors that are coming into the brand, well, that means that, that break-even point is sooner in the timeline because your rent and so forth are a mitigated factor versus some larger footprint retailers. And it's also been an advantage in our customers' mind. You walk into a big box retailer, 60 plus, 100 plus thousand square feet. How many people are you going to get exposed to? In Batteries Plus, it's 2, maybe 3 on a busy day. So there's some advantages there as well, where the customers are trusting us because of our retail footprint and the convenience factor of that.
Yeah.
So it's been an advantage for us.
And to that last point, if you're, dealing with the 1,300 square foot store versus a 60, 70,000 square foot store, you're also, not only exposure to other people, but also you're probably going in and finding what you're looking for right away rather than having to roam different aisles. So your time in store is probably cut down as well.
Agreed.
Yeah. So we've talked a little bit about kind of the experience from the franchisor level. Let's talk a little bit about, and you used the word stability, which I think is a great adjective to talk about kind of, the attribute to success that you've had. Let's talk about the customer experience and how Batteries Plus is ensuring that its customers get a consistent experience across that network of store locations across the country, different franchise owners. Tell us a little bit about how, from a corporate level, you're ensuring that consistent experience when somebody walks into a Batteries Plus store.
It starts with training. And that goes all the way back to training the franchisee when they first purchased the franchise, to including their staff in coming to training school. The training program that we have behind the franchise system breaks down into 4 main components, right? And the first part of it is kind of an online module. We've developed basically an online university that we call Empower You. And so those folks are able to get on there. They're able to get, the basics, understanding the vocabulary of different types of batteries and things that are appropriate for our industry. They're able to have sort of many degrees and certifications in different aspects of the business, get certified level 1, level 2, and so forth with a WISE certification for device repair and all these different things. The second component of training is in person at our training school in Wisconsin, right by our headquarters office there, where they spend time. It's not just a franchisee, but franchisee plus 3 seats. So bring your employees with you, your store managers, and get that hands-on training in the classroom with our folks. The third phase of training happens in their store directly. We send our folks down just at the time about grand opening, maybe the week before, spend a couple of weeks with them there. And that's that in-person OJT type of training. And within the first 90 days that our stores are open, we're spending the first 2 weeks, and then at 30 days, we come back in for a couple of days. And then at 90 days, we come back in for a week. So there's a consistent reinforcement of the fundamentals of what we do and the why we do it. And then you have kind of that fourth phase of training, which is the ongoing for the life of the business piece. For example, we talked about different conferences and stuff that we host for. Sometimes it's just how to be a better business owner. Sometimes it's for how to manage employees differently, national convention that we do every year or so. And then on top of that, we've also got field staff. I've got a staff of people that live all across the country that are Batteries Plus corporate employees whose job is to be in the stores at regular intervals for the life of the business, supporting the owner and their staff with operations and training support in that capacity. So we've really got all the bases covered, and the training never stops. It's constantly updated. It's constantly reinforced. And then you add the second layer to that is the culture. So the culture is we want our customers to have a world-class experience. We want to provide a level of expertise and a level of service they're not going to get anywhere else. You walk into some of these big box retailers and you're looking for a particular light bulb or something along those lines, and they're just going to point to where the product category is on the shelf versus, hey, let's drill in and really see what you need and how you're going to use this and find the best solution. Here's a good, better, best option for you based on your budget, and really assist that customer in finding the right tool or service or product that they need. And that's how they keep coming back. So all of that stuff builds into the layers of the stability of the brand, keeping that customer experience high. And we have some of the highest medallia scores in retail. 80 plus, 85 plus in most cases, which is just, it's unheard of among retailers. And so we're real proud of that.
Yeah. And it sounds like that constant communication, there's the continuous training. You've really set up an infrastructure to optimize the store operations on you and your team. I'm going to take a slightly different path and switch channels on you real quick here, Joe, and just kind of talk a little bit about the role that digital and e-commerce plays. We've, most of our conversation so far has been about physical retail. Let's talk about e-commerce and how that kind of factors into what Batteries Plus is doing going forward. And, specifically with your team, how you can bridge, that online and offline experience and those two channels for your customers.
No, and that's an excellent question. And I think that is the one spot where a lot of retailers struggle, especially if they're a franchise system. Since we're a franchise system, I'll provide some context there. There are franchise brands out there that have both an online presence and a physical presence, and in most cases, there's some degree of a revenue share there, where if it's an online purchase, the franchisee may get a piece of the action, and the franchisor keeps the balance or something like that. And in a few rare cases, there's no sharing of that at all. And we sort of planted our flag way, way down on the other end of the spectrum there, where 100% of that transaction goes to the franchisee. And the reason we're able to do that is, all of our product catalog is online. It's shoppable. Some of it is shippable. And like we talked about earlier here in the podcast, most of it's not. And so the advantage that we have there is we can do a ton of online and omnichannel marketing and work and business, but 97% of our online orders are buy online, pick up in store. And so again, that's where we're able to say, hey, you know what, Amazon Prime, get stuff that same day, if not the next day. Our average transaction from the time that customer clicks purchase to the time that product is in their hands is less than 5 hours. And it's because of that retail footprint and the fact that we have this niche that we occupy that you can't ship most of this stuff. Mm-hmm. So we enjoy driving that customer from the online experience to the in-store experience, because there's also a large service component to what we do. Hey, I've got this TV remote and I don't know how to get the back of it off. Can you help me put the batteries in there, type of stuff? And that, again, now that online customer has become a repeat customer and has developed a relationship with the store itself. And then there's an additional component to this as well, where we also service B2B commercial accounts and this type of stuff. So if that customer wants to walk in through the door and they've got a logo on their shirt, we know, hey, let's ask about that. Hey, what does that mean? Well, I'm a contractor and I'm building a 300 unit apartment complex up the street. Oh, great. Where are you getting your exit signs and your light bulbs from? Mm-hmm. Oh, you can do that too? Yeah. And it's a great way to continue to service the community that we're in. And also help franchisees build a great business.
Yeah, and that service that you provide at your stores, that's always going to make those physical presences viable and a need for your consumers. And then to your point, that can supplement the experience and, by going online. So it's a good way for the two of those channels to connect. And talking about that customer experience, how have you seen, or maybe you haven't seen in the last, year plus or so, the behaviors of your consumers? Have they changed? And if so, how have you had to adapt? And, many retailers have seen, significant changes in customer behavior over the last year plus, and have had to take some steps to account for that. What have you seen at Batteries Plus in that area?
Yeah, we've first and foremost, we've actually seen a shift where we've seen more customers, and some of that was because, especially early on in the pandemic, some of the folks that we would maybe classify as a categoric competitor for us shut down that portion of their business. So for example, some big box retailers out there that had automotive centers weren't using automotive centers for automotive business. They used that floor space to, triage and take temperatures of employees and stuff before they went to their work environment. And we scooped those market shares. Secondly, as soon as the pandemic was okay, it's a 4-alarm fire. Because we're so heavily invested in making sure that we've got cutting edge, best in class technology, we were able to roll out contactless curbside pickup across the entire system in a 24-hour period. And so those types of things were moves that we made very early on, very much ahead of our competitors that we've kept up. We don't think contactless curbside is going to go away. It's a convenience thing now, and being able to push those things out to our system easily and quickly and seamlessly gave us an advantage. And the share of market that we picked up in the different categories that we're in, we're not losing it now that folks are opening back up to varying degrees. We're increasing it still further. And so we've seen it as an absolute advantage for us. So those shifts in customer behavior, we were able to roll right along with it and meet them where they are or where they were going before they even got there in some cases.
Yeah, to your point, I don't think some of these behaviors are going to revert back to the way they were in, pre-pandemic. I think consumers, they value convenience more than anything at this point. And if you're making giving them a convenient experience with some of the services that Batteries Plus has rolled out, that customer is going to remain with you. So I think that's a positive way to look at what has happened. So leading into my final question, Joe, in terms of, just looking ahead a little bit, obviously it's been, strong. The last year plus has been a prosperous time for Batteries Plus. My question is, what can you do to kind of continue that positive momentum that you've generated, and keep it going, back half here of 2021 and moving into 2022 as well?
The number one thing that we've identified as far as our strategy is concerned for continued growth is telling the story. Right. And this is not a story of one company or of a group of executives or a board of directors. This is a story of 250 plus individual business owners in markets all across the country, large markets like Chicago and New York, small markets like Carlsbad, New Mexico, and Jupiter, Florida, owners that are out there enjoying their lives as entrepreneurs, succeeding in business, creating jobs, servicing their community, and living out that dream. And so if we can continue to double down and support those folks and help them to achieve or increase the level of success that they've already seen, we just got to tell that story. So making sure that that's out there first and foremost for us, and then also continuing to tell the story that, hey, there's inventory shortages everywhere, right? We have plenty of stuff. Competitors may not. And we've been able to do a lot of things there to ensure that our franchise owners have stuff on the shelves and have stuff at the warehouse so that they can replenish the stuff on the shelves, and then encourage the consumer, the customer out there to know that, hey, if you come to Batteries Plus, we've got it. We're good. You can take care of your need too. And so telling the story from both sides of that fence there is really the secret sauce.
Yeah, and I appreciate you coming on our show, Total Retail Talks, to help tell that story, Joe. So I want to take the opportunity to thank Joe Malmuth, who is the Vice President of Franchise Development for Batteries Plus, for joining us on today's episode of Total Retail Talks. Thank you, Joe.
Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate the time.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, please check out our podcast channel page at mytotalretail.com/podcast for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify. Make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. If you've enjoyed this episode, please take a few moments to rate and review this podcast. Thanks, and until next time, this has been Total Retail Talks.
Join us for this year's Women in Retail Leadership Summit, being held October 11th to the 13th. Go to womeninretailsummit.com for our full event safety plan and to register to attend. We can't wait to see you there.